My name is Darren Hupke, and this is Pixels and Polygons. Welcome to a new week of the show. I have a returning guest this week in Brian Riggsbee from RetroGamebooks.com. We chat more about video games and hopefully all the stuff you're interested in. This is another new format episode, so just the one guest. We'll talk about some things up at the top. We'll get into the icebreaker and then the main topic of the week. This week we dive into the custom character and created character questions. So I asked this once before, I think to Andrew on a previous week in a previous episode. But yeah, just kind of learning about the ins and outs of why we create the characters the way we do and where the custom names and things we use, where they come from. So it's not a super common question people want to pick, but I really like to hear the backstories and things about why we choose and create and craft the things that we do when we have that option in a video game. Otherwise, business as usual. Still got my Patreon page. I've had a couple of new signups there, so that's cool. The first wave of the one and done review postcards will be going out at the end of the month. It'll be my micro review for Shenmue. So if you sign up and support there monthly, you'll get a postcard with a giant screenshot on the one side and on the back side, written review for the game with a score and everything, like a micro magazine, like a one-page mini magazine, the smallest gaming publication out in the world. That's something you can sign up for through Patreon. I also have my other writing content and the digital library of my books for 32-bit library and things. Pretty soon, the Retro Game Zine will appear on there. That Kickstarter just finished last week, and that got a lot of support. So thanks to everyone who backed that and supported that. That will be available digitally through the Patreon as well. On pixelsandpolygons.net is the news source where you can buy physical books directly from me. Stickers and pins and all those extras are also available there. I'll sell extra physical copies of Retro Game Zine through there as well too. So you can always add pixelsandpolygons.net to your bookmarks or whatever it may be. Just kind of visit and check in. But I will have all those details in the show notes below. Things are pretty on track for what I'm working on now. I've got those 2 issues done for the Retro Game Zine, so the third is being kind of back end. Things are kind of coming together on it. I've plugged away and did another chunk of the beat 'em up book. I probably will have my work done for that by the end of the year, which has secretly been a soft goal of mine anyway. So that'll be exciting to have that coming together there. I'm working again with Audie Sorley from like DF Retro and Limited Run Games. He's doing some content for that book as well around like the audio production and like the music of the series from Final Fight. So that'll be kind of like the cherry on top to kind of finish that out once he's done with that part of it. But yeah, working on stuff. Books, zines, digital goods, postcards, podcasts, all that jazz. Thank you for enjoying and participating and being here, and I hope you enjoy the episode. We will see you again then in about a week. Have a good one. Bye. Cool. Well, welcome to a new episode, another episode. We've got a returning guest, Brian Riggsbee from RetroGamebooks.com. Whoa, almost botched the website. What's up, Brian? How's it going?
I'm doing okay, other than the flu or cold I have, but otherwise things are going well.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. We last got to connect in person. We were at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo a couple weeks back and everything, which was rad and fun to do. Definitely want to do that next year as well. That was just a fun experience to fly out of state and do something like that. So that was really rad to do. And I'll have a few more books then, hopefully, and you should too, actually, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, we're never going to stop. And yeah, we were next door neighbors, which was super cool. So people could talk to us at the same time, which is kind of fun. Sending traffic to each other's booths, which is always a nice little synergy thing we got going on there.
Yeah. But it was also some interesting moments where somebody would be obviously interested in the product. There it is, some retro gaming themed books, but then they would either skip the booth right next door and be like, oh no, I'm good. Like literally similar products side by side. If you liked one, you should check out the other. But it was fun to bounce back and forth like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so kind of to start things off, actually, I wanted to maybe talk a little bit about the books. You had the SNES Maps book, Volume 1, come out. That's like your most recent project. I wanted to ask about Volume 2. What frame or what direction will that one take? Like, what's the first game in Volume 2, and what will be the last game? Like, what middle section of the SNES library does that cover?
Yeah, right. So to clarify, yeah, this is a 3-volume series. Volume 1's out right now, still available. 2 will come out early next year. To Darren's point there about it being like the middle one there. So it ranges, or it spans from Fire Emblem through Secret of Evermore. These are all, in alphabetical order, and each book is about 300 pages, so they can be fairly even. So in there, you're going to see, games such as like Harvest Moon, Illusion of Gaia, some Kirby stuff, Mystical Ninja, obviously A Link to the Past, Mega Man X games, Romancing Saga, Rock and Roll Racing, so many. It's about 70 games. Those are just some of the more known titles. There will, of course, be more modern art in there. There'll be interviews and articles, as all the books tend to have up front. Plus, just as with all the volumes, you have quotes from different people, artists, game devs, comedians, podcasters like Darren, and then, journalists and the like. Plus, I'm going to put some fun interactive stuff at the end. It's like a kind of a little bonus, some bonus fun stuff at the end. But yeah, so all the way through Secret of Evermore is where you'll be by the time you get that book.
Secret. Okay, that's a good chunk. Yeah, the Volume 1 is the 7th saga through Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. But yeah, if you've not purchased that book personally, huge recommendation. It's rad to see. It's not just like maps from just the instruction manual or in game. There's like you have like Japanese guides. You have like old like magazine and periodical like strategy coverage. You have like hand drawn and like created maps and all that stuff. Like there's a lot of cool like deep cut elements in there to kind of like just dig into some of your old favorite games on the SNES. So huge recommendation for me. So looking forward to Volume 2 and 3. Pitching the idea, you should design a slipcase so that all 3 of them can slide into and be like this crazy ultimate like gift set thing. I've just thrown it out there. I love a slipcase. Would be cool to do.
I mean, there's parallel thought going on here. Someone else also mentioned that to me, because at first I was thinking, do I make a 900 plus page compendium that no one can open up flat, and where do you put that thing? And it's so heavy, you don't know what to do with it. But yeah, the slipcase, now that you're the second person to say that, I feel like I have to do it, right? Plus it's an excuse to get some new art made too, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, like all like encompassed around all sides of it. It'd be pretty thick and pretty big if it held 3 of those things, so it could be kind of rad. And then you have like this brick on your shelf. I'm a big fan of massive oversized hardcovers. Like my whole comic wall that I have in my living room is just mostly like the omnibus and hardcover sized things. So having a large chunk and like a chunky spine right there, could be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
just an idea.
Say, my favorite hardcover comic compendium is Tokyo Ghosts, which is a Remender and Murphy book. I know this is a bit of a tangent, but that is one of my all-time favorite comics, and it's the chunkiest chunky boy I got on the shelf right now, I think.
Yeah, Remender's books, his imprint from Image, or I guess it's his own thing basically now, but Giant Generator. He does those in all those size. So if you've read, if you get any of his other books as well, they're in that like oversized hardcover, like giant collection size. And so I've got Black Science and Deadly Class, Tokyo Ghost. I got all of his stuff on there. I love him. And Sean Gordon Murphy, like his artwork is fantastic. So Tokyo Ghost is a good recommendation.
They're my favorites. Favorite writer, favorite artist, respectively. So for them to come together like that, it was perfect.
Yeah, rad. Yeah, that chunky spine looks great. I think a chunky spine of a slipcase for the maps, SNES maps, would look great as well. So just consider it. Sounds like you are.
All right.
Cool. Well, then let's jump into the icebreaker. Then we'll ease into the main topic and main question. I was thinking about a recent question, but what? So it doesn't have to be your favorite, but who is one of your favorite villains in a game, and why? Like, what about it stood out to you and makes you think back on them as one of your favorites?
Oh, that's an interesting one. I wish I had prepared for this. I mean, the first person that comes to mind, I'll just say it, is I do like an Albert Wesker. So Resident Evil, people that aren't super tuned in. He's of course in the beginning it was like you didn't know that he was a bad guy. You always like that like kind of secret bad guy situation. But also the way he's he kind of turns himself into an experiment, all those things. The way he's been portrayed, in different ways, including the TV show that I think was a bad TV show, but a well-acted version of Wesker. I think it was an excellent portrayal. He's just an interesting character. He has a pretty big role, I think, in Code Veronica. I think he had a big spot in that, but he dips in and out all the time. One of those enemies that just kind of comes and goes throughout a series. I think it's pretty interesting. Yeah, I would go with him.
Wesker, yeah, he's solid. I mean, it's interesting how obviously like zombies or like whatever letter virus, or umbrella in general, like there's the looming threat of it, but really like the individual, like the antagonist of it all, it typically is always him behind the scenes or creatively writing him into being involved behind the scenes to create something. So he's genuinely a solid villain for that Resident Evil franchise. Is he in like 7 and 8, or is he involved with like those recent ones? I haven't played. I mean, I played a bit of 7, but I haven't played 8 at all.
I mean, without spoiling things, I guess I would just say like he's always kind of there.
Okay.
If I had to pick a second one, I'd go with Sephiroth, just because I mean, people like him they're just looking to burn the world down when they realize how bad it's been to them and want a hard reset. Kind of interesting kind of character motivation. Also, my son is like kind of obsessed with the One-Winged Angel song, which is Sephiroth's theme song. And just the duality between him and Cloud I always find to be interesting. So that would be my second choice.
Yeah, I love his involvement in like the remakes and Rebirth like series. Like they've had to inject him more to keep him present for the overall villain theme, because even though some of those scenarios he's not quite always present in the original game, they keep finding ways to inject him to make sure he's on top of mind for you in those remakes. So it's cool to see him in the modern form as well. But cool. All right. Well, thanks for jumping onto that. Then let's move into the main episode topic. Then I've asked this once before, and I think this definitely is more of a personal question. But but custom characters. So a lot of games have create a character modes. You can create your own avatar, whether it's an MMO or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Like you could make your version of you or a special person. Do you have a go-to name or design you like, and what does that look like, or what is that name? Like, what is your vibe and your take on custom characters in games?
Yeah, so I'd say like when I was younger, although there might not have been as much of this going on, I would spend a lot more time on it, just because for some people it's like a game within a game, right? It's almost like a mini game. Customizing your character, it's optional, of course, right? But there's this feeling of, okay, I'm going to be locked in with this person for hours and hours, so I better get it right. Albeit I might be looking at the back of their head for most of the game, depending on the kind of game I'm playing. So it's kind of funny in that way. So it depends on the game, how much I'll invest into it. I used to have a roommate who he would spend hours just getting his character ready and then would play 10 minutes and then would restart not feeling good about it. And I could not relate that. Like to me, I'm like, I just want to play the game. I want to get in. So I can't get that overboard. The game I spent the most time were all of those WWF Nintendo 64 games, because you make a version of yourself, or you make some character that didn't get added to the game officially, but you can kind of put them together, or you try to make a character from another IP appear in the game, and that's pretty fun. So we played a lot of those wrestling games back in college days, and you know, you gotta have your character, but that kind of represents you in some way, but can't be OP either, right? Like if they're overpowered, you're breaking some kind of rule. So the types of move sets that you apply to them have to be balanced, and that's a whole nother conversation. When it comes to games though, like Elden Ring, for example, I remember starting that and thinking, I'm going to have like a helmet on all the time, and I'm going to look at the back of this guy's head. Do I even care? And I kind of just like, I looked for just a couple minutes and I just said like, okay, default. I honestly just didn't care, and I don't think it really mattered that much. I think it's fun to do it if you're into that, but for a game like that, it's just like, that's not really what the game's, you know, about, at least for me. So I just kind of went default. Back when I played Final Fantasy XI, I remember I went with like generic human male and just thinking, wow, that is so boring. Why did I pick the most boring person? And then when I played WoW later, I was like, I'm going to be like the undead mage with the missing bottom jaw with the tongue sticking out and get as weird as I can. Yeah, they're both satisfying for their own reasons. And then, I mean, as far as names go, like my online persona name for forever has just been Novolin. You know, we often pick a name or a few names and we kind of stick with them. I've been using this since like the late 90s, like, you know, able to secure, you know, email addresses and everything without having to put a bunch of numbers and special characters afterwards. So you once you get it, you kind of stick with it. So I'll either go with that name if I'm not feeling creative, or I have a running list of dog names for the next dog I get. So maybe just pick someone off that list because, you know, they transfer. They're fun names.
Where does Novolin come from? Is that like, did you hear that or see that somewhere, or was it just like a rad phrase that you heard of?
No, there's a story. It's so silly. So a friend and I were I was driving my mom's minivan when I was 16, that was the car I got to use. And we were pretending to be DJs in the car by moving the treble and bass up and down as if we were mixing the music, which you're not really. We stopped into some used game store, and we were looking at games, and we happened to glance at a game called Captain Novolin for the Super Nintendo, which is an educational game to teach kids about diabetes and a drug to treat it, which is now long defunct. I am not diabetic. I have no association with diabetes in that kind of way. But it was just kind of like, we're thinking of fake DJ names. I picked Novolin and I changed one of the letters just because I thought it sounded kind of cool. So it's Novo for the drug, but I went with Nova, as in like new. So it's just kind of like, it was just happenstance. It was just what happened in the moment, and it just kind of stuck. And then I needed a name for something else, and I stuck with it and kept going.
Yeah, I just Googled the game to see the cover, and on the cover, it has a little call out. It says an action adventure game about diabetes. It's Captain Novolin. He's just on the cover, staring down a box of sweets that look very evil. Interesting.
It's really cheesy. I think I emulated it for a few minutes, and that's as far as I got. Fun fact: the friend with me, his DJ name was DJ Number Cruncher. I don't know. He did math in his head in the moment, and that's how nicknames happen. Yeah. You just happen to do one thing one time, and they stick.
I thought I found the greatest name of all time. I thought I nailed it. I'm like, I can't believe nobody else has claimed this. Like in 97 AOL Instant Messenger or AOL time frame. But Mr. Dude, I was like, nobody's got this taken. Mr. Dude, like, oh my gosh, that's dunk. I got it. And then, but just to spice up a little bit, I made sure I threw the 911 after it. So Mr. Dude 911, because watch out in case you have an emergency, there's Mr. Dude. I used that for far too many years, and email addresses and things like that. So Novolin is much better than that. And Mr. Dude never transferred over into the video game worlds. Luckily, I used different names in various things. But yeah, oh boy. You had mentioned the wrestling thing. We've talked about this before, but I think we both have a love for the wrestling games, especially the Nintendo 64 ones. But in Wrestlemania 2000, when you'd let the game start up and have like that little attract mode where it would like play a little cutscene of all the personalities of Stone Cold and the Undertaker and all of them, if you went in and edited the base character or their outfit, that appeared in that opening cinematic, it would change in that as well. So my friends and I literally crafted our entire own league. So we just reverse engineered that, like the personality and what was happening in the dramatics of that opening scene, and then made personalities that match these like strange characters that we made, so that it just became its own thing. And like we spent a ton of time just like making all of these unique characters just to like create our own special league with our own custom characters in the mix as well. But yeah, it was super interesting how that game applied those edits and those changes just right into like the real time cutscene that would play in the beginning. So I love doing that. That was super fun.
Yeah. I miss those days. I wish you could play these games online, like doing 3 or 4 players at the same time. If someone got that going, I'd be into that.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what like the licensing thing is. I mean, obviously, like you should be able to just re-release the game. I mean, because the WWE or whoever, like they should own the license of the games, like not necessarily the original developers. So shouldn't they be able to just re-release them if they wanted to? Like, it seems crazy that those games have not been, modernized at all. Because yeah, they would absolutely be like things people would like buy, I think, by the hundreds, if not thousands of sales, for sure, of all of those classic fans. But it is what it is. Yeah, so I guess that's the custom characters question. Yeah, there was something else I wanted to ask about that, and that wrestling thought made it go away. So that's okay. Any other final thoughts then on custom characters? What's the last game you made a custom character in? Would it be Elden Ring, do you think? Or have you played something?
It would be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because I'm playing so many where it's not an option. So yeah, it would be that one. I don't know. I named my guy Ren for no reason. It was just on my list of names. But yeah, he's extremely generic. He's generic dude.
Generic human one.
Generic Mr. Dude.
I popped into the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. It was going on last week or earlier this week, whatever day it is. Last week. And you can start that game customizing your character, and it looks like it's the full character editor. But once you're done and you go to confirm your character, it's like, are you sure? And it brings up all of the modifiable components of your character and like a little like single line thing. But there's maybe 40 something options available in your face that you can edit. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that many things I could have changed. But then I realized that was page 1 of 4 that you had to go through and confirm. Like, there is literally so many things you can tweak and customize on those characters. And that as soon as you do that, you throw on this chunky armor over it and you never see it ever again. So like, does it really genuinely matter? But folks who do love that stuff, I mean, I guess like that's the kind of game for them.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if like the developers who are working on the, create a character aspect of the game, they're probably like pushing the design team to be like, oh, hey, how about if these sunglasses were the best, head armor in the game, because they want to like be able to show off all the hard work they did. Yeah. They're probably secretly pushing for these kind of things. Like, oh, if you put this thing on, then it doesn't show anything on the top or something like that. I don't know. I wonder how they feel, but my final thoughts are just, it's great that they have it. It's great that there's a million options now. It's great that you can skip it if you don't want to do it, because it's optional.
Yeah, I like having the option there. Yeah, the developers are probably pushing, that invisible cloak for plus 10 strength, end game. Mm-hmm. So you can see that. But cool. Well, everybody go check out Retro Game Books and take a look at Brian's work. The SNES Maps, again, gets a high praise and recommendation from me, but there's a lot more there. I know you've recently did some restocks as well, and you've done that from time to time. So keep an eye out there. And I will have the links and everything in the show notes below. But thanks for jumping on, Brian. We will have you on a future episode for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.